I hadn't seen Elena in 7 years. 7 years. It sounds like a normal amount of time when you say it out loud, but it doesn't feel normal at all. 7 years can turn a boy into a man, a dream into a scar, a whole life into something you barely recognize. And yet, the moment I stepped back onto the old cracked sidewalk leading to my brother's house, it felt like those years folded into themselves, disappearing one by one until I was standing in the middle of memories I had tried so hard to bury. I didn't come back to town for nostalgia. I came back because my brother insisted on hosting a big family anniversary dinner, and after ignoring him for too long, guilt finally kicked in. But deep down, I knew this visit wasn't just about him. Some places hold answers even when you don't want to hear them. The air carried that familiar scent of late autumn cold, sharp, mixed with the smell of burning leaves from someone's backyard. It was the smell of endings, and somehow also beginnings. My boots crunched on the gravel as I walked up the path, and my heart was pounding with a rhythm I didn't want to acknowledge. I wasn't prepared to see her. Not like this. Elena stood on the front porch as if she had been waiting for something, or someone. Maybe she heard the gate creak, or maybe fate just pushed her outside at the exact moment I arrived. Her hair, slightly messy from the wind, glowed under the soft afternoon light, the same chestnut shade I remembered from the days when she used to lean over my shoulder and laugh at the meals I tried to cook. When her eyes met mine, her whole body froze. "Daniel, you came back," she whispered, almost like she wasn't sure the words were allowed to leave her mouth. I stopped a few steps away from the stairs, suddenly unsure how to breathe. The last time I saw her, she was crying in a dim kitchen, her voice trembling, telling me I was chasing stupid dreams and cooking like a child. Now she stood taller, stronger, wrapped in a sweater too elegant for a quiet town, and a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. I nodded slowly. "Yeah, I'm here." The silence between us stretched, soft at first, then heavy. So much unsaid, so many memories we never closed. If someone walked by us at that moment, they would think we were strangers meeting for the first time. But our silence carried years of love, heartbreak, anger, and things we never dared to admit. Behind her, the door was half open, letting out a warm wave of air and the scent of roasted meat, butter, and grilled vegetables. The smell hit me instantly familiar, painfully familiar. It dragged me back into the kitchen we used to share, where I experimented with recipes while she teased me, stole ingredients, and kissed me between chopping onions. She followed my gaze and stepped aside. You can come in." Her voice had changed, quieter, softer. Not the confident girl who once told me she could survive any storm. This voice had seen storms, big ones. As I climbed the steps, I noticed tiny details: the fragile tremble of her hands, the way her eyes darted away from mine too quickly, the ring on her finger that told me she now belonged to a life I wasn't part of. A life with my brother. Of all people, my brother. It still stung. She pushed the door open wider and I stepped inside. The warmth of the house wrapped around me, almost smothering compared to the cold outside. Everything inside looked too perfect: spotless shelves, polished wood floors, curtains ironed and tied neatly. Like a magazine home. Like someone tried to make sure not a single thing looked out of place. But perfect spaces sometimes hide messy hearts. "You look different," she said finally, closing the door behind us. I glanced at her. "So do you." She didn't smile at that, not really. Her eyes traveled over my face, my clothes, maybe trying to figure out the version of me that returned. She didn't see the tired nights, the long shifts, the burns on my hands from kitchen accidents, or the moments when memories of her made breathing feel like a chore. "Your hair's longer," she said, trying to make conversation. "You cut yours." She touched her hair almost automatically, as if she'd forgotten it had changed. Then something flashed in her eyes: recognition? Regret? Maybe both. I didn't know, and I wasn't sure I wanted to. I didn't mention the heavy lines near her eyes, or the slight exhaustion beneath her makeup. I didn't ask about her marriage or her life with my brother. I didn't ask if she was happy. Some questions don't need answers. Some answers hurt more than the questions themselves. I followed her to the dining room. The table was set beautifully, maybe too beautifully. Silver utensils, folded napkins, candles waiting to be lit, plates arranged like she expected a critic to judge her. "You did all this?" I asked gently. She hesitated a little too long. "Yes, of course. I prepared everything for dinner." Something in her voice was off, thin, forced, like she didn't believe the lie she just told. I didn't call her out. Not yet. She adjusted a fork for the third time, wiped her hands on her apron even though they were clean, and backed away from the table as if afraid her own creation might judge her. The tension was so thick you could almost slice through it. The house felt familiar, but she didn't. Or maybe she did. Maybe she felt exactly like the woman I left behind. The same woman who loved me too softly and hurt me too sharply. The woman who watched me walk away and said nothing to stop me. "You're early," she said suddenly. "I wasn't expecting you yet." "You sent the invitation," I replied. "I figured family should show up on time." She swallowed hard. The word family hit her differently now. Her eyes drifted toward the kitchen doorway, as if expecting someone to walk through it, as if afraid of something I couldn't see. "He'll be home soon," she said. "Your brother. He had a long day at work." I nodded, even though I didn't care about my brother's schedule. I cared about something else, the way she avoided my eyes, the way her shoulders tensed whenever I stepped too close, the way her voice cracked on certain words. Something was wrong. Not with the house. Not with dinner. With her. The Elena I remembered would have filled the silence with chatter, jokes, stories. She hated quiet moments. They made her nervous. Now she stood in front of me like silence had become her new language. I crossed my arms and leaned against the table. "You nervous?" I asked softly. She frowned. "No. Why would I be?" "You tell me." Her breath hitched. A tiny sound, but enough for me to hear. "Daniel," she whispered, "why are you really here?" "Because I was invited." "No." She shook her head. "Your brother invited you. But you didn't come back for him." I didn't answer. She took a single step closer, her voice trembling. "Did you come back? Because of me?" Her eyes searched mine, filled with questions she was scared to ask, and answers she wasn't ready to face. I let out a slow breath. "Elena," I said quietly, "I came back because I'm tired of leaving things unfinished." Her face paled a little, and she looked away, her fingers tightening around the edge of the table. She was shaking again. And suddenly, painfully, I understood. She wasn't just afraid of seeing me. She was afraid of what I might learn now that I was here. 7 years had separated us, but the moment I stepped inside this house, I felt it clearly. She was hiding something. Something she didn't want to face. Something she hoped would stay buried after I left town. But secrets don't stay buried forever. Not when the one person who knows the truth finally comes home. The dining room felt too quiet once Elena and I settled into our seats. The perfect table between us looked like a thin shield, something she needed to hide behind. She kept glancing at the door, waiting for my brother to come home, as if his presence would somehow protect her from this moment, from me. I didn't blame her. I felt the pressure too. The light above the table shimmered softly, casting warm shadows on the walls. The kind of lighting that should have made a home feel welcoming, peaceful, but instead it made the tension stand out even more sharply. Elena's hands kept moving, straightening the napkin, smoothing the table runner, tapping against her glass. She never used to fidget. She used to face things head-on. But the woman across from me wasn't the same woman I knew years ago. She was quieter, more cautious, like every word she spoke had to pass through some invisible fear. "Do you want water?" she asked, breaking the silence. No, I'm fine. She nodded quickly, as if relieved she didn't have to walk into the kitchen alone. I leaned back in my chair, letting my eyes sweep slowly over the room. Everything was neat, but the neatness wasn't comforting. It felt forced, like someone arranging a stage before a performance. Or covering up a story. So, she said suddenly, her voice thin, you've been gone a long time. 7 years, I said, though we both already knew. Feels different being back. She swallowed. Does it feel strange? It does, I admitted, but not because of the town. Her breath caught, but she didn't ask what I meant. She didn't need to. The air between us tightened again, and she shifted in her chair. Her fingers were trembling faintly, not enough for the average person to notice, but I had known her too intimately once. I could read every tiny movement. You look like you've had a good life, she said quietly. Better than here. I worked hard. She flinched at the word worked, as if it reminded her of something. Maybe our old arguments, the nights when I stayed up late practicing recipes, refusing to give up on a dream she no longer believed in. Elena, I said softly, you can relax, you know. I am relaxed, she said too fast. Right. She looked down, embarrassed. It's just, I didn't expect this, seeing you again. I didn't expect it either. A small, painful smile crossed her lips, then disappeared. She took a deep breath, steadying herself. Daniel, why didn't you call? Or write? You just vanished. Because you broke something inside me. Because you laughed at my dreams. Because when I walked out, your silence told me everything I needed to know, but I didn't say any of that. Instead, I shrugged. I needed space. 7 years of space, she whispered. Her voice held something like hurt, something like regret, but I forced myself not to fall into old feelings. You moved on fast, I said. Married my brother 8 months later. Her eyes squeezed shut for a second, a flicker of shame she tried to hide. That wasn't planned, she whispered. Things just happened. Right. No, she insisted softly. Not right. Not simple. It was complicated. There it was. That word again. Complicated. She said it like it was supposed to explain everything. But complicated didn't erase the nights I cried into my pillow because I thought she had replaced me effortlessly. Complicated didn't erase the anger that drove me to leave the entire town behind. Her gaze drifted to the window as if searching for a different memory, one that could justify the choices she made. Daniel, she said. You don't know everything. Then tell me. She froze. I can't, she whispered. Not yet. Why? I just can't. The way she said it made something cold stir inside me. It wasn't the resistance of a woman hiding behind pride. It was the fear of someone hiding behind a truth. The silence stretched again, heavier now. Finally, she stood and walked toward the kitchen doorway. I should check on the food, she murmured. I watched her disappear behind the wall, her footsteps barely audible. Something inside me tightened. She didn't feel comfortable being alone with me, not even for a minute. She was scared, worried, maybe ashamed, and I didn't know if it was about the past or about something happening right now. After a few moments, she returned with a bowl of salad, placing it on the table with too much care. Her eyes didn't meet mine. Elena, she kept her gaze on the table. Elena, I repeated, softer. Look at me. Slowly, she lifted her eyes, and I saw it clearly now, the strain, the guilt, the pieces of a truth she had locked away for years. What happened back then? I asked gently. The night I left. You were different, quiet, scared. Something was wrong. Her hands tightened around the bowl. Her lips parted, but no words came out. Finally, she whispered, I made mistakes, Daniel. What kind? She shook her head. I don't want to talk about it. We don't have to dig up everything, I said calmly. Just Tell me why you pushed me away. Her eyes filled with a raw, aching sadness. Because I thought you would leave anyway, she answered, her voice barely audible. Your dreams were bigger than this town, bigger than me, and I didn't know how to fit into your future. I frowned. So you hurt me first? Before I could hurt you? Tears glimmered in her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. You say it like it was simple, she whispered. But nothing about that time was simple, Daniel. You were passionate, talented. Everyone knew you'd go far. I was terrified I would hold you back, terrified you would resent me. So I pushed you, harder than I should have. My chest tightened. Then why marry my brother, I asked. If you were so afraid of losing me? Her lips trembled. She looked down again. I watched her struggle for words, for courage, for truth. It wasn't love, she admitted. Not the way it was with you. She wiped her cheek quickly, pretending there were no tears. I was lonely, confused. And your brother, he was there. He made me feel safe. And I wanted safe more than I wanted dreams. Safe. The one thing she never felt with me, not emotionally, not financially, not in the messy chaos of ambition. But there's more, I said quietly. She froze. You're hiding something else. Her silence was the confirmation. Elena. She shook her head again, eyes wide, voice trembling. Daniel, please, she whispered. Not tonight, not while he's coming home, not here. I can't talk about this here. Her plea cut through me deeper than any sharp word she had ever thrown at me. What are you afraid of? She didn't answer. Instead, she slowly reached for one of the napkins, spreading it out neatly, smoothing the edges with shaking fingers. I don't want to hurt him, she whispered, meaning my brother. And, her voice cracked just slightly, I don't want to hurt you. I sat back, studying her expression. There it was, the truth she wouldn't say. The truth I could almost feel in the air. She was hiding something big, something tied to the past, something tied to me, something tied to why she married my brother so fast. And she was terrified that if I learned it, everything would shatter. Before I could speak again, the front door clicked. Elena's whole body stiffened. A second later, my brother's loud voice filled the hallway. I'm home. Elena wiped her eyes quickly, forced a smile, and whispered, Please. Not a word. As he walked in, cheerful and oblivious, I watched her carefully. Her smile was perfect. Her posture was straight. Her voice was warm. But her eyes, they told the truth. Something inside this house was wrong, and she was praying I wouldn't uncover it. Not yet. Not tonight. But secrets don't wait forever. And neither did I. My brother walked into the dining room with the same cheerful energy he carried everywhere. He placed his jacket on the chair, rubbed his hands together, and laughed loudly, the kind of laugh that felt too big for the room. Finally, I've been thinking about this dinner all day, he said, sliding into his seat. Elena, you really went all out. She forced a smile, her hands clasped tightly in front of her. Her shoulders were too stiff, her eyes too shiny. My brother didn't notice a thing. He never did. Let's see what my amazing wife made tonight, he said, grabbing the lid of the main dish and lifting it dramatically like he was revealing treasure. But the moment the smell hit him, he paused. He blinked. Then he frowned. Huh. What? Elena asked, her voice tight. He poked the meat with a fork, sniffed it, then frowned deeper. It looks interesting, he said, trying to find a nicer word. Elena swallowed hard, her breath shaky. He finally took a bite. His face did all the talking. His eyebrows drew together, his mouth twisted, and he chewed slowly, painfully slowly. Wow, he said, wiping his tongue on the napkin. This tastes like someone burned it twice and then tried to save it with salt. The words were meant as a joke, but it wasn't funny. Not to Elena. Not to me. Not to the truth hanging in the air like smoke. Elena's lips pressed together. her eyes dropping to the floor. Her fingers twisted around each other anxiously, as if she wanted to curl into herself. My brother didn't notice her breaking. He simply picked up another plate and examined the sauce, as if it might bite him back. "You always try, honey," he said with a laugh. "But cooking is just not your talent." Those words hit her like a slap. She lowered her head even more, her cheeks flushed with humiliation, shame, regret. And I sat there watching, feeling the old wound inside me pulse. I knew that pain. She once used those exact words on me. "You always try, Daniel. But cooking just isn't your thing." She said it the night everything fell apart. The night she told me dreams don't feed families. The night she sent me away with words sharp enough to cut through years of love. Now she sat trembling, being hit by her own sentence thrown back at her by the man she chose instead of me. I should have felt satisfied. I should have felt vindicated. But all I felt was the heavy weight of truth pressing against my chest, demanding to be released. I didn't want revenge to taste sweet. I wanted it to taste honest. So I stood up. "My brother," I said calmly, "she didn't cook it." Everything went silent. My brother froze mid-bite. Elena's head snapped up, eyes wide with panic. Her hands trembled violently now. "What?" my brother asked. "She didn't cook this meal," I repeated, my voice steady. "I did." The room felt smaller, warmer, the walls echoing the years we lost. My brother blinked in confusion. "Wait, what do you mean you cooked this?" "I mean exactly that." I met his gaze. "I made every dish on this table." His eyebrows lifted. "Why?" Before I could answer, Elena whispered, "Daniel, don't." Her voice broke, cracked open like a secret spilling out. But I wasn't angry. I wasn't cruel. I was simply done being silent. "I cook now," I said. "Professionally. I'm the head chef at Lakeview Resort. Our restaurant serves 1,000 guests every week, climbed the ranks, won awards, built my life around the dream she once mocked." My brother stared at me, stunned. Elena covered her mouth, her eyes filling with tears she could no longer hide. "And this," I continued, touching the plate gently, "is the exact same dish she mocked 7 years ago. The same recipe she said would never impress anyone." My brother looked at Elena sharply. "You said that to him?" She let out a small, broken sound. I was scared," she whispered. "I said things I didn't mean. But I wasn't finished." "Elena," I said softly, "you told me I would fail, that I was wasting my time, that no one would ever want to eat something I made." Her tears fell now, sliding down her cheeks like parts of the truth she'd held inside for years. "And now," I said, "your husband just insulted the same dish thinking you cooked it." My brother swallowed hard, realization slowly dawning. Elena shook her head desperately. "Daniel, please, don't do this." I looked at her with something deeper than anger truth. "I'm not here to hurt you," I said. "I'm here to show you what you broke that night. The dream you crushed wasn't small, it wasn't childish, it became my life, and you walked away from it because you were afraid." Her voice trembled as she whispered, "I pushed you away because I didn't think I deserved you." "What?" My brother's head snapped toward her. She closed her eyes, tears spilling down. "I didn't marry you because I loved you," she said quietly. "I married you because I needed safety. Something simple, someone who wouldn't leave." My brother's face went pale. "I loved Daniel," she whispered. "More than I ever said. More than I ever admitted. And the night he left, I thought he would never look back. I thought I was already losing him to his talent, to his dreams. So I hurt him first." Her voice broke on the last word. My brother stood slowly, stunned and shaking. "Elena, are you saying you still?" She shook her head violently. "No. I'm saying I never forgave myself, not for losing him, not for lying to you, not for pretending I could bury the truth." The room fell silent. My heart beat painfully. hearing words I once begged for, words I never expected to hear again. But they didn't fix anything. They didn't heal anything. They only made the truth heavier. I stepped away from the table, breathing deeply. Elena, I said gently, I'm not here to take anything from you. Not your marriage, not your peace. I just needed you to taste the truth you tried to bury. She covered her face with her hands and cried openly, painfully. My brother stood frozen, torn between confusion, betrayal, and shock. The quiet settled deep. I grabbed my coat. Daniel, my brother said, stepping forward. Wait. I turned to him. I'm not here to destroy your home, I said firmly. But you deserve to know who you married, and she deserves to live with the truth she ran from. He swallowed hard, eyes flicking between us. Elena's sobs filled the room, raw and uncontrollable. I walked to the door, every step heavy but steady. My brother whispered, Where are you going? I looked back one last time at the table, the food, the woman who once loved me and feared me, and the brother who never saw the cracks forming in his own home. I let out a breath that felt like 7 years of closure finally escaping. Some dinners burn, I said softly, but some truths burn deeper. And I walked out the door, leaving Elena to face the truth she spent 7 years hiding, leaving my brother to finally see what had been in front of him all along, leaving myself free from the shadows of the past. The cold night air hit me as I stepped outside. For the first time in 7 years, the wound didn't hurt anymore. It finally felt clean. It finally felt closed. And the door shut behind me, with the softest, most powerful ending of all: silence.